everyone. Welcome to this week's Sunday Sunrise message. I appreciate your patience as I attempt to try something new. I have no idea, quite frankly, what I'm doing from one day to the next with these messages. I just know that 13 weeks ago, I was guided to do a message a week for 12 weeks, and I have completed that first 12 weeks and have gotten the guidance to keep doing them. I'm also curious with the best way to deliver these messages. And one of the things that I have come to know is that we are so ultra sensitive to our five senses, what we see and what we hear and what we touch and what we smell. And my intention in doing these messages was to bring you a message about a sacred part of you and me that we are being divinely guided to tune into in that particular week. I also wanted to bring you backgrounds and places where, as you heard this message, your eyes could feast on nature behind me or wherever. Today, I'm not inspired with my surroundings, quite frankly, and I found myself to be a little bit grumpy this morning because I wanted to have a nicer background, and I was getting lost in what it looked like, which is, I think, something that many humans get caught up in. And what does something look like as opposed to what it feels like? I felt a very big call to continue these messages, and I wanted to show up today. I just didn't want to show up in the place that I am currently in. So as I move through that, I've decided to do this simply as an audio message. For me, sometimes as I'm getting my messages from the channels that I get my messages from, sometimes I like to simply just hear and close my eyes and not fixate on the channel or the speaker, but more so the message. So I'm going to experiment with that a little bit today and ask that you simply just close your eyes, whether you're here live or whether you are going to be listening to the recording. Allow yourself to relax into the sound of my voice, relax into wherever you are, and allow yourself to just let go for the next few minutes as we come together in soulful communion to listen to a message, to hear a message that is divinely guided and co-created by our collective souls. And when I say our collective souls, it's all of those who will watch this video from here to eternity, because at one point or another, our multidimensional selves communed on this message, and it was exactly what we needed to hear at this time. Therefore, it's been recorded, it's been divinely guided, it's been delivered, and whenever it is in linear time that you listen to it, it will be perfect time. But at one point, a version of you, a multidimensional version of you, co-created this message. So it is your message. I think one of the most beautiful things that I have learned in this journey of just these 12 weeks, it's amazing what happens when we commit to showing up. I don't know if it's at a certain time, but just we commit to showing up for our sacred spirit. When I got the message to do, or to be to be a channel to provide messages of sacred nature to all of you beautiful souls who are on this ascension journey with me, I knew that I had to commit to it. I had no choice, and I wanted to do it. There was no choice to say no. And it wasn't because I wasn't given that choice. It was because my heart wouldn't let me not do this. Because I knew that by committing, that I was also signing up for some pretty massive growth in consciousness. Because as we open up and become channels of messages, not only for ourselves, but for all souls, we start to then download divine wisdom that was not available to us when we were simply operating as ourselves in this physical world. We know now, after these 12 weeks of journeying through our multidimensional selves, we know now that this is not a linear life that we live. It's very much a vertical life, and it extends way past this physical world, and it goes way beyond into this quantum world where we create every single thing based on our thoughts and our feelings and our soul desires. When those things come in direct integration with each other, and our multidimensional fourth dimensional feeling self actually matches the idea of our soulful self, our 5D self, then all parts of us integrate into a higher realm of being and a higher dimensionality. And when the higher dimensionality is where we operate from, everything starts to come to light. We start to download more and more information, which comes in the form of cosmic knowledge. This is wisdom beyond our linear mind. This is wisdom that is infinite in its nature. It can expand and multiply from an infinite amount of ways from how it came to you. The truth of our nature is that we are infinite in our capabilities, and yet taking on that message means we are required to expand what we know about ourselves. Taking on that message and understanding that we are infinite in nature means that we have to let go of this identification with our physical bodies, because our physical bodies are the lowest vibration of who we are. Even if we are operating in a higher dimensionality because we are fully integrated in our 3D, 4D, 5D self, the part of us that is our 3D self is the matter part. It's the part that has the lowest density of vibration. Therefore, to step into our infinite nature, eventually we have to step out of this third dimensional reality. And sweet souls, the message coming through is this third dimensional reality is the most limited of our existences. And I say that and want to go deeper into it because that could very much be misinterpreted. The limitation in which I speak of is not a limitation of you can only go so far. You can have an amazingly abundant human life. And yet eventually, when you're on this path and you consciously choose to expand and multiply your multidimensionality, there comes a point when our choices to keep expanding will take us out of our 3D body. And we will have a physical death, and yet it is just the rebirth into a brand new form that goes way beyond any expression of self that we can consciously remember. And yet, because we are infinite, when we step into that next realm of existence, the divine wisdom and the divine knowledge flows just as it does now, and it opens up even more memory, even more expansive nature of you. And that memory then reminds you of who you are in that particular existence. It's a beautiful, beautiful evolution of our souls. And although we have been given in this 3D earth, we have been given this idea of what death is and what it means. And it's been something that has been skewed into something to fear. And yet death of all kinds is the symbol of a rebirth. It's a reset. And although we are sometimes unexpectedly facing death in different ways, when we get used to the cycles of death and rebirth in this physical form, the idea of physical death starts to dissolve, the fear of it starts to dissolve, and we move into a beautiful, beautiful expression of self, an expression of life. So let's talk about the life, death, life cycle that we live in this human form so that we can all understand the expansive nature of this process. I'd like to just take a moment to ground us into the energy of where we're going with this message. And if you would just again tune into my voice and lower down into wherever it is, just allow your body to relax. And bringing your attention to your heart, allowing your heart to expand. Imagining that beautiful heart of yours expanding even brighter, even wider, deeper. However it appears to you, allow the expansiveness of your heart to start to open up consciously, allowing yourself to beam this beautiful love energy, this beautiful, unique, divine energy into our collective, allowing our collective energies and our collective hearts to light up, light up, light up, light up every single being. Every single cell of every single being in this planet feels this powerful love, unknown of where it comes from, but they still can feel it. Every living sentient being on this planet feels the presence of your open heart in this moment. And with that open heart, we bless our planet. We bless the energetic grid that supports our planet. And we send beautiful, beautiful heart energy, collective love energy into this grid so that it is circulating and infinitely circulating around our globe, our planet, our earth, Mother Earth. How beautiful it is to have this collective energy come together in this time to receive a message that will only amplify the collective energy that is now pouring forth. Because as we pour and give of ourselves, we receive this ultimate and divine message today, filling ourselves back up with even higher vibrational love frequency. It goes into the higher realms of our existence. It's so high and potent in frequency. We invite only messages of light and love into this conversation. We invite only beings of a higher multidimensional expression into this conversation that are of a higher dimensionality, the higher dimensionality of love or above. And as this message pours through, our souls know exactly what to do with the information, and what is yours to keep with you, you embrace and hold dear into your heart. And what is yours to not yet hear, to not yet acknowledge, you can let it go. You have free will, free choice here, sweet soul. Take what is yours and leave what is not. Okay, I'm going to take a sip of water. The knowledge in which we have been taught about human life has been taught from a place that was intentionally manipulated to appear as though there is freedom in life, and yet the intention has been to limit that freedom in convoluted ways. And this operating system so to speak, that we have learned from has been in existence for millennia. And the deceptive way in which we have been taught in our human form to function as a human being has been extremely convoluted and has been extremely deceptive. The way in which we have been taught about life and death is that you are born into life, you're birthed into life, and you live life, and then you die at whatever age your divine being is to die. Your physical being, your divine being, goes on forever. And in this physical form, we live in between this process of birth and death. And what we are taught is that you run with a specific template, a specific operating system of what life should look like based on where in this beautiful planet you were born onto and where you live. You choose how you live your life, and your culture will tell you the best way that you should live your life. And yet there are many, many beautiful beings and beautiful souls who have been born into cultural programming, an operating system that is a limitation to the full expression of their soul. And yet, when the programming is really strong, the individual starts to just say, okay, and ignores what the soul is wanting to be, so that they operate in this operating system that they are told is the best way to live your life. In the Western cultures, it looks a lot like, let me put you into our systemized school where we learn about history, and yet the history taught is not the truthful history. We know that about most of it at this point that kids are learning. And yet we continue the rhetoric, we continue the narrative that spins history into the flow of the narrative, the distruth, the dishonest truth. And then from there, we encourage the soul to go into college for higher learning. And then from there, you come out and you'll get yourself a job in something you're very passionate about because you've spent the last 4 or 8 years studying it. And you get that job and you work really hard for 40 years so that you can build up equity in yourself and experience in yourself, so that you, sweet soul, can finally retire and live the full expression of your soul in retirement. And yet in all of those years of training and working, no one has taught you how to be the full expression of yourself. So when you have time in retirement in the latter part of your years, you have no idea what to do with yourself because you have gotten so far off the track of your soul that you have no idea what your soul requires. And in most cases, retirement ends up being a very lonely road to the death that we are to fear. And that existence has made our planet more unhealthy than ever before. It has become a playground of dis-ease. It has become a playground that is ripe with bullies and manipulators and people who hurt in order to feel as though they have some kind of power, because they have gotten so far away from their divine power within that manufactured power has to be bought. It has to be forced. That any expression of freedom or soul has to be diminished or limited by those who are so far from soul, because there is that divine nature within them that knows that if they allow others with soul the freedom to be fully expressed, that this darkness that has taken over them has really been a manipulation, and the darkness is simply themselves choosing the base operating system. And that expression of life and death is feared by many, including myself, because quite frankly, sweet soul, I was on that trajectory, and I think many of you have been as well. And that trajectory, we knew our soul would not allow us to integrate that operating system. It took some of us longer than others, but at one point we came to the point and said, no more of that operating system. I'm going to choose to upgrade. And when we upgraded, we had to do a lot of work, because we had to purge the corrupted files of that base operating system. Those corrupted files was everything we knew to be true in that operating system. And putting each of those in front of us, each of those rules, so to speak, each of the programs in front of us, and saying, is this truthful? And asking our soul and getting the answer of no. It was a grief process of understanding how long we had adopted this operating system as truth, when we are now being guided that it was not truthful at all. In that moment, when we are purging that program, that old program, that corrupted data, it feels like death, because we grieve every moment we said yes to that program. A part of us dies, and that is the part of us that said yes to it, that accepted it, because it was the only part of us that we knew to listen to at that point. But here's the beautiful thing. When I say a part of us dies, it doesn't mean it was all for nothing. It simply means that that part of us reintegrates into the higher consciousness that we are. She reintegrates into our soul, and she says, I have loved being at the forefront of this operating system, and yet I am ready to step back and allow the next upgraded version of this operating system to take effect, and I will step down and reintegrate into this beautiful nature that is this soul, and I will be here always. And as you let go of that smaller version and allow her to reintegrate into the vast nature that is you, the next version, the upgraded version of you, the upgraded operating system comes forth. She is birthed. She comes alive. And this is all in the span of, I don't know what linear time you want to give it. Is it an hour? Is it processing through, oh my gosh, I don't want to operate like this anymore. I let this go. Is it something in your life that is so big that it takes months and months and months to grieve it, to allow it to die, to allow it to be rebirthed? We all have those things that are really quick to purge, and we all have those things that are feeling like it's taken forever for this version of you to die, because she won't let go. And sweet soul, be forgiving with her. Many of us have lived so many incarnations in this one lifetime. We have died. We have allowed a part of our life to die, to be let go. so that we can invite in a new expression of our lives. How many of us have given up marriages that we had the courage and the boldness to walk away from because our souls knew it was no longer a fit? How long did it take for that experience to finally go away? And if you are still working through it, I understand you. I hear you, sweet soul. How many of us have had to let go of jobs and children and spouses, of our stories, of our narratives that we tell ourselves? How many of us have had to let go of responsibility for things that we thought we had to be responsible for? And now we might be a little embarrassed because we're like, man, if I only knew that I wasn't really responsible for that, I wouldn't have fought so hard to have it or to keep it. We are understanding more and more in this time where we are in linear time. We are understanding more how much of what we have been taught is a fallacy. And that is a humbling death, a death in consciousness. And what this is all about is death is simply an evolution, an upgrade in consciousness when we walk this journey of ascension intentionally and consciously. Every single day we choose over and over and over again which operating system we are going to choose to live within. Which operating system are we going to consciously choose from moment to moment to moment? And by being in every single present moment and asking, from which operating system would I like to operate from? The more we hear ourselves choosing our cellular operating system, the more we purge from the old, the more we throw back into the archive bin of our Akashic records, and we step into a new expression of soul. I know that things are feeling very intense right now. I know it feels like you are at your wit's end. And for some, at this point, we're along our journey enough where even physical death may seem like a blessing. And here's the thing, sweet soul. What we know this far into this journey, as we go about this new journey of ascension and going through this up level and these upgrades and tuning into the solar cosmic energies that we are working with in this time frame, as we work with everything around us, what we have come to learn is that the death of an old cycle is intense. It takes you to the point where you think you may die physically. And yet, sweet soul, if it is not your time yet, because that is divinely timed, what this means is the intensity is taking you to that critical point where all of a sudden you release, you surrender to it, and you say, I can no longer control this. I allow it. And the old programming at that moment goes directly into an archived file. It is now purged from your system because you no longer chose it. You surrendered to the upgrade. You finally hit the upgrade button. And this intensity then moves into the birth and the life cycle, the next cycle, where things are just as they are when something is birthed. It's birthed into this world fresh and renewed with a whole new intelligence. Every time you upgrade to a new operating system, sweet soul, by choosing the death of an old one, an old program, you breathe life into your physical body, your energetic body, your mental body, your spiritual body. You breathe new life. So if things are feeling intense, allow yourself to be in the intensity and know that it too shall pass, and it will, it always does, and it means a rebirth is on the other side. When that becomes your program, intensity of emotions, intensity of life no longer has power over you, because you have archived the old programming that when life gets tough, it means you're doing it wrong. In our world, sweet soul, when life gets tough, it means we're on the precipice of an upgrade, and we are about to birth a completely new version of ourselves. The intensity is simply us reintegrating that old part of us that accepted and operated within the old programs of a corrupted operating system. There is nothing to shame there. There is nothing to grieve. And yet, if the soul needs to grieve, we allow it. What a beautiful process when we understand that the death of a part of our life does not mean you didn't do it right, sweet soul. The death of a part of our life, or many parts of our lives, simply means we've chosen the upgrade. We've chosen boldly to go where most people won't, so that we can live a life that most people can't. A life of freedom, of soul freedom. This is your time to upgrade. This is your time to reintegrate into the whole expression of soul that you are in physical form. So let's anchor these energies in, anchor this message in. I'm going to take a sip of water. And from this beautiful, beautiful space where this message has been received, I anchor down all higher energies into this physical form and into this physical earth. If you will, sweet soul, imagine with me that a red cord of energy goes from your tailbone down into the core of the earth. And in this core is the crystal core of our planet. And at this place, from this place, we ground into these energies that have been created through this message. These energies have gone straight into each of your souls, into each of our collective souls. We are tapped into a divine source that is way beyond anything that we can imagine in this physical form. But we know that consciousness is the creator of all. Therefore, our consciousness anchors these energies down into our physical form, into our physical earth. And from the top of your head, imagine a white column of light that goes directly from the top of your head into your soul star. That is the place where the initial seed of who you are has come from. And this is the place of your divine power, your divine presence, your divine essence is all culminated from this place. And you are connected into it. And from this place is where the infinite wisdom of the universe and soul source of all wisdom resides. You are connected into it. And the more, sweet soul, that you integrate these energies into your body, the more you will know, the more wisdom that will flow to you from this beautiful soul star. And the more that you share and be that wisdom, the more you expand your light into the grid work of this beautiful planet. I give great thanks for you being here. Please, in the comments, just leave a message as to what has been your biggest takeaway on this live stream. I would love to know. And if you are feeling the intensity, sweet soul, please know you're not alone. This is a beautiful, beautiful place to be. You are not alone. You are seen, you are heard. And if you would like to join a collective so we can take this conversation further, I'd like to introduce you and invite you over to the You Collective. It's a collective of souls just like you. We're all having these experiences in human form. We are all upgrading. And when we bring our experiences of our upgrades, we are then no longer alone. We see with our five senses that we are not alone and that there are others like us. And when we speak of our experiences, we each are channels of divine knowledge. You, sweet soul, get different knowledge than I get. So when we commune and come together and share our experiences, we then get to learn from each other, and we expand ourselves even faster, even more deeply. Bring your soul, bring your light to the You Connect Collective. I look forward to seeing you and hearing your experience of this beautiful process we call ascension. Thank you for being here this week. Thank you for being patient as I try out the audio version of these messages, and I look forward to hearing your feedback on that. Thanks for being here.